That tree wasn't leaking sap from the wounds we gave it. It was bleeding. And when my coworker touched it with a stick, the ground vibrated beneath our feet, and we heard a groan coming from inside the trunk. That happened 3 days ago in the Peruvian jungle. I've spent 10 years cutting trails through the forest. For those who don't know what that means, a trail is a path carved out with machetes through dense jungle, so machinery, people, whatever needs to pass, can get through. It's hard work, heat, mud, insects, rain, all at once. But it's what I know, and I know it well. In 10 years, I've seen things that shake you. Enormous snakes crossing the path, wasp nests the size of a suitcase hanging in the trees. Trees so massive that when they fall, the ground shakes like an earthquake. But nothing, absolutely nothing, compares to what I witnessed this week. Every time we enter a new area of untouched jungle, the local guides warn us the same thing. There are trees you don't touch. They call them mother trees, the oldest ones, the largest. Trunks so thick that 4 people together can't wrap their arms around them. The guides say those trees are the heart of the forest, that everything living around them depends on them, that to harm them is to mess with something you don't understand. We listened, we nodded, and we kept working. Because orders are orders. Move forward in a straight line, go around nothing. 3 days ago, we found the tree. We were cutting through a zone that had never been touched by anyone. The jungle was dense, humid, with that smell of wet earth and rotting leaves that only exists in real, untouched forest. And then we saw it. It was the largest tree I had seen in 10 years of work. The trunk was so wide it looked like a concrete wall. The bark was dark, almost black from age, with deep cracks like old scars. The roots rose from the ground like twisted arms lifting the earth. And above, the branches were so high and so dense that the tree alone blocked out the sky across an enormous radius. One of the local guides stopped dead when he saw it. He stood there in silence, just staring. Then he grabbed my arm and said quietly, "That one doesn't get touched." I heard him, but the foreman already had clear instructions. "We need to mark it for tomorrow," he said. "Give it a few machete strikes to test the wood." The guide shook his head. "I'm not hitting that tree," he said. "You all do what you want." And he stepped back. 3 of us gave it a few strikes at the base. The sound it made was wrong. It wasn't the hard, clean impact you expect when you cut into wood. It was duller, deeper, like whatever was inside was made of something different. We looked at each other without saying a word. We marked the tree with an orange ribbon and headed back to camp. That night, I didn't sleep well. I woke up several times with a strange feeling. The jungle was too quiet. The forest is never truly silent. There are always crickets, frogs, night birds, something. But that night, there were moments when everything went quiet at the same time. Like something large was moving nearby and had frightened every living creature into stillness. I lay there, listening to those silences, until I finally fell asleep. It was a heavy sleep, no rest in it. The next morning, before it was fully light, we got ready to head back out. But before we even left camp, something stopped us. The smell. A strong, rotting odor coming from the jungle, from the exact direction of the tree. We figured some large animal had died nearby. That happens often in the jungle. We walked toward the tree, with that smell growing stronger with every step. It was the smell of copper, of blood, mixed with something heavier and older. When we arrived, everyone stopped at the same time. There was no dead animal. The smell was coming from the tree, from the machete wounds we had given it the day before. What was running out of the cuts in the bark wasn't sap. It was dark, thick, warm. It moved slowly down the bark, following the cracks, pooling between the roots. My coworker Elmer crouched down to look closer and said, his voice different than usual, "This looks like blood." Nobody laughed, because he was right. The color was deep red, almost brown. The consistency was thick, like a paste, and the smell up close was exactly that. Iron, copper, blood, mixed with wet earth. The jungle around us was completely silent. No birds, no insects, nothing. Just that dark liquid running down the bark of the oldest tree I had ever seen in my life. That's when Elmer did something he shouldn't have. He picked up a stick from the ground and brought it close to one of the wounds to get a better look. The stick touched the bark, and in that moment, I swear on everything sacred to me, the ground vibrated beneath my feet. It wasn't an earthquake. It wasn't machinery passing nearby. It was a vibration that came from inside the earth itself, as if something deep below had felt the contact and responded. We all felt it at the same moment, because we all looked at each other at the same moment. And right after the ground stopped vibrating, we heard the sound. A groan, low, deep. It didn't come from the jungle or from any animal. It came from inside the trunk. It was the sound of something enormous, in pain. Long, quiet, but so deep you felt it in your chest more than in your ears. Elmer dropped the stick and stumbled backward. Nobody said a word. All at once, we turned around and started walking fast toward camp. Nobody ran, I think out of pride, but we were moving so quickly it amounted to the same thing. We left everything behind, machetes, ropes, tools, all of it. When we reached camp, the local guide was watching us. He said nothing. He just looked at us with the face of someone who always knew this was going to happen. Then he sat down and said slowly, "That tree has been standing there longer than any of us can imagine. Its roots go deeper than we can reach. What lives inside it isn't what we understand as life, but it lives, and it feels pain." Nobody answered him. I sat there with that groan still echoing in my chest and the smell of copper still buried in my nose. This afternoon, the foreman said, "We go back tomorrow. Orders are orders." Some of the guys said fine. I said nothing, because I've already made my decision. I'd rather lose this job. 10 years of cutting paths through the jungle taught me one thing that's worth more than any paycheck. There are places a person shouldn't enter. There are trees that shouldn't be touched. And when the ground vibrates under your feet and something inside a trunk answers you with a groan that has no right to exist, that's not superstition, that's a warning. And this time, I'm going to listen.